బిజినెస్ బ్రీఫ్స్ చూద్దాం, ఆ తర్వాత వాటి మీద ఇన్సైట్ మా బిజినెస్ కన్సల్టెంట్ ముబీనా అందిస్తారు. లెట్స్ వాచ్ బ్రీఫ్స్ ఫస్ట్. మన దేశ జీడిపి వృద్ధి ఈ ఆర్థిక సంవత్సరం ఏప్రిల్ నుంచి జూన్ క్వార్టర్లో 7.8% నమోదైంది. పెద్ద ఆర్థిక వ్యవస్థల్లో అత్యంత వేగంగా వృద్ధి చెందుతున్న దేశంగా భారత్ నిలిచింది. ఇక ఎస్బీఐ సహా ప్రభుత్వ రంగానికి చెందిన 6 బ్యాంకుల రేటింగ్ను బీబీబీగా కొనసాగిస్తున్నట్లుగా ప్రకటించింది ఫిచ్. ఈ లిస్టులో బ్యాంక్ ఆఫ్ బరోడా, పంజాబ్ నేషనల్ బ్యాంక్, కెనరా బ్యాంక్, బ్యాంక్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా, యూనియన్ బ్యాంక్స్ ఉన్నాయి. అలాగే కొద్ది రోజుల పాటు కోలుకున్న రూపాయి విలువ నిన్న హఠాత్తుగా క్షీణించింది. ఫారెక్స్ మార్కెట్లో 82.65% దగ్గర బలహీనంగా ప్రారంభమై రూపాయి క్రమేపీ క్షీణించి ఇంట్రాడేలో 82.79 స్థాయిని తాకింది. లెట్స్ వాచ్ గోల్డ్ రేట్స్. బంగారం విషయానికి వస్తే హైదరాబాద్లో 22 క్యారెట్ల 10 గ్రాముల బంగారం ధర 55,150 రూపాయలుగా, 24 క్యారెట్ల ధర 60,160 రూపాయలుగా ఉంది. విజయవాడ మార్కెట్లో 22 క్యారెట్స్ బంగారం ధర 55,150 రూపాయలుగా ఉంది. 24 క్యారెట్స్ చూస్తే 60,160 రూపాయలుగా ఉంది 10 గ్రాములు కానీ. దోస్ విత్ ద బిజినెస్ బ్రీఫ్స్. సో లెట్స్ టాక్ టు అవర్ బిజినెస్ కన్సల్టెంట్ మిస్ Mubina. She is there today. Mubina, good morning.
Hi there, good morning.
Yes.
And yes, like you mentioned, the Indian GDP, I think that's going to be the focus and the cynosure of all eyes. It was better than expectations, coming in at 7.8%. And mind you, this means that the Indian economy grew at the highest pace in 4 quarters, pardon me. But there is some not so great news on the fiscal deficit front, which has, which has widened. Compared to what it did in April to June. So in April to July, we have seen a more than expected widening in the fiscal deficit. It has come in at a little over 6 lakh crore rupees. So this is something that's going to be a bit of a negative. Foreign institutional investors have continued to sell Indian stocks, and this month as well, in August, they've emerged as net sellers, selling continuously. The domestic institutional buyers have continued to buy in Indian shares. For our own markets, though, meanwhile, the GIFT Nifty, which is the indicator for what the Indian markets could do, the pre-open futures rate is showing that there could be a negative start. Some interesting stocks to watch out for then. And let's look at Geo Financial Services, because this one is going to be removed from the BSE Sensex, a key benchmark, with effect from today. So before trade opens, Geo Financial Services will be excluded from the benchmark. It was supposed to happen in August, but because the stock was locked in lower circuit for a couple of days, the exclusion has been postponed. We also have Genesis Power, small cap company, but it has received a very good letter of awards of more than 2,200 crore rupees. So you could see some nice uptick in the stock price of Genesis Power in trade today. Watch out for that share. Punjab National Bank, you already mentioned about Fitch and how it has maintained that status with respect to the rating, but they have raised the lending rates. For Punjab National Bank, the news is they've raised the lending rates by 5 basis points across tenures with effect from the 1st of September. So for our viewers who have loans with PNB or who are depositors with PNB, you could see some momentum on that front with respect to their EMI bills. Or if you are a fixed deposit holder, then with respect to the interest income you earn as well. India Pesticides, a prominent pesticide company, is looking at expansion. It is purchasing an 11,400 square meter plot of land next to its Sandalya plant, and this for the purpose of expansion. We also have Navneet Education. The board has approved the amalgamation of its subsidiary and at the same time demerger of its edtech business. So it's essentially just to rationalize the scheme. This should as well bode well for the stock price of Navneet Education. Finally, some fund buying, MedPlus Health, Fidelity Funds, Nippon India Mutual Fund. These are prominent funds, and foreign institutional investors and domestic investors have purchased a 6.5% stake in MedPlus Health. And finally, Jet Airways, the beleaguered airline, which is now in the midst of being revived. PTI has reported that Jalan Kaldra Consortium has deposited 100 crore rupees in Jet Airways in less than 48 hours of the NCLAT, allowing implementation of the revival plans.
Yeah, Mubina. So that's quite a explanation. So you started with the GDP, right? So economy resilient amid headwinds in the government. That's what it claims, and a core sector growth at 8% and fiscal deficit to 34%, as it says. But government sticks to its 6.5% GDP growth projection for the financial year 24. How do you see that?
Well, they've stuck to their projection primarily because they're adopting a more conservative approach. Because, mind you, the headwinds, like you mentioned, are there. It's not like we are bereft of headwinds. The Indian economy will continue to see that. Inflation continues to pose to be a challenge in the Indian markets. And in fact, we had the chief economic advisor as well saying that the deficient monsoon, that's the other headwind. That is also going to be an issue. Having said that, though, he said that we will still continue growing at that 6.5% rate. So inflation, deficient monsoon, both of these are headwinds. So I think it's the question should more be that yes, we've grown 7.8% in this quarter, but will we be able to keep that pace of rate for the next 3 quarters as well to be able to hit that target of 6.5% for FY24? So I think it's good that the government has sort of left that target stay as is, because it's giving a very positive signal with respect to the optimism as well that the government has on what the Indian economy can do, and also to the resilience. Further, they've said that the risk is evenly distributed. So that projection as well can stay steady. When we say evenly distributed, we can expect the growth pace as well to more or less remain steady. We don't expect any sudden shocks, that there will be a sudden fall in the second quarter or a very sudden fall in the third quarter. So hence, that as well was a very important line they have said. With regard to fiscal deficit, there's no threat to the 5.9% target as well that has been set for the fiscal deficit. It is supported, of course, by the fact that the government borrowings, the calendar as well has already been fixed. So they're saying that we don't expect any sudden jolts to this as well. But yeah, that's of course the GDP data. It's mostly been aided by a very strong performance by the services sector.
ఓకే, గ్లోబల్గా సో గ్లోబల్ మార్కెట్ చూసుకుంటే కనుక లాసెస్లో మనం ఈరోజు చూస్తున్నాం. అయితే ఏషియన్ మార్కెట్స్ చైనా అనూహ్యంగా పుంజుకున్న నేపథ్యంలో అదే ట్రెండ్ భారతదేశంలో ఉంటుందా అనే దానికి సమాధానం రావాల్సి ఉంది. ఇక జీడిపి విషయానికి వస్తే ఒక పెద్ద న్యూస్గా ఈరోజు మనం చూస్తున్నాం. ఏప్రిల్ నుంచి జూన్ త్రైమాసికంలో జీడిపి గ్రోత్ రేట్ 7.8% చూస్తున్నాం. హైయెస్ట్ ఇన్ 4 quarters, అంటే గత 4 త్రైమాసికల ట్రెండ్లో చూసుకుంటే కనుక ఇది ఎక్కువగా చూపుతున్నారు. అయితే స్లైట్లీ అబోవ్ ఎక్స్పెక్టేషన్ ఏదైతే ఉందో దానికంటే కూడా ఎక్కువగా జీడిపి ఉంటుంది. అయితే 6.5% స్టిక్ ఆన్ ఉంటాం 2024లో అనేది గవర్నమెంట్ మనం ప్రకటన అయితే చేస్తూ ఉన్న నేపథ్యం మనం చూస్తున్నాం. ఇక జియో ఫైనాన్షియల్ సర్వీసెస్ స్టాక్ టు వాచ్ అనేది ప్రధానంగా కనిపిస్తోంది. సో ఐ థింక్ వీ గాట్ కనెక్టెడ్ బ్యాక్ విత్ Mubina, యు దేర్?
I am there, yes.
Yes. So my question was looking at the global cues. So inflation is also high. So there was a speculation that Fed banks may increase the interest rates as well. So how do you see that impact on the Indian markets? As we see that China market is growing unexpectedly.
What's interesting is that while the US markets, the inflation data was adverse, like you mentioned. Now, the Eurozone as well has thrown up an inflation number that is, again, unexpected. It's not that great. So, while, of course, the data may not be that great, the market is reading into it very positively because it is dimming the probability of the US Fed increasing or continuing on their rate hike path. Now, if in case the US Fed does pause on interest rates, let me tell you, it does bode very well for the Indian markets, because here's how investors are reading into it as. In the last couple of months, we have seen a continuous
సో మొత్తానికి ఈరోజు సాయంత్రం ట్రెండ్స్ ఏ రకంగా క్లోజ్ అవుతాయి, మార్కెట్స్ ఎలా క్లోజ్ అవుతాయి అనేది ఈవినింగ్ బులెటిన్లో మనం కంక్లూజన్ చూద్దాం. దట్స్ ఆల్ ఫర్ టుడేస్ సాక్షి మనీ మంత్ర.